think it's still coming now this year?
Yes. Has to.
Do.
Starfield is.
Yeah.
If Phil was blown that,
Phil.
you know, you talk about him being friend of the show.
Hurry.
That's on the
Got
chopping block.
nothing yet. Well, I suppose we can see the in-game footage, but not actual gameplay.
You're going to get... Starfield's coming. They're not going to do that. They can. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Like, we'll face it with that. But genuinely, I think there's such an important game. It's such a... They announced it last year.
Dimp Digital Presents Idle Game Chat.
Cool.
Hello, apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to Idle Game Chat. This is the weekly video games podcast where we give our impressions of the games that you can play today and react to the latest goings on from the wonderful world of video games. We're here on your favourite podcast app and YouTube, absolutely free. This week, I'm joined once again by the disgraced and dishonest Dimp Digital Gaming Quiz charlatan. It is Le Sheet. Tom Adkins, not Ed Cock. How's it going?
Bloody good, mate. Yourself?
Good. Episode 100 nears even closer. 1 week away, unless, again, something tragically goes wrong. We will be... Sure. It looks like we've locked ourselves in for that, so we will hit the landmark. There were talks about backing out. Should we just...
Nothing done.
Well, I remember in the snooker once, and most people won't understand what I'm even talking about, but you can get a maximum break of 147 points, which means you clear all the reds, all the colours with blacks, and it's the highest possible score. You can get more technically, but it's never been done. And it's a big moment. It doesn't happen very often, like a few times a year. Ronnie O'Sullivan got all the way to the last red, and instead of potting the black for the maximum points, he potted the pink just to fuck with the fans. He basically said they didn't pay enough to get a 147, so he got a 146 out of spite. And I was thinking of doing that.
That's quite good.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Lad.
I'd be devastated if I was in the crowd watching that.
Yeah.
The chances of ever seeing that are just so slim that you're gonna really struggle. And then for him to be an absolute fuck about it, you would be devastated. But we didn't, and we're not planning to. So you'll see us back for 100 in a week's time. Let's get into it, because this looked like it was going to be a nice slow week, and we wasn't going to really got the hype train going on in the chat, so that's always good to see. It's going to be a bit of a slow week, and I was like, well, we've kind of do about half an hour of news, and then there's some impressions for the guys to listen to later on. But then Phil and his Xbox. I've got my Xbox hat on here. I've even got a green top on, which wasn't planned. It's the wrong...
Oh, the real green blood.
Wrong type of green. It's more Kez, isn't it? Not quite...
Yeah, that is
not
Kez
quite
green.
Xbox. But maybe Phil, when he watches this, will appreciate it. But the headline is Starfield and Redfall both delayed until the first first half, of 2023. So
that's a June release.
Well, potentially. Who knows? In a statement published on Thursday, Bethesda tweeted, I saw it on a tweet, if they put it on their website, quote, "We've made the decision to delay the launches of Redfall and Starfield to the first half of 2023. The teams at Arcane Austin, Redfall, and Bethesda Game Studios, Starfield, have incredible ambitions for their games, and we want to ensure that you receive the best, most polished version of them. We want to thank everyone for their excitement for Redfall." I don't think anyone was excited about Redfall. Sorry, that's a lie. Don't lie to us. Anyway, and Starfield. That energy is a huge part of what inspires us every day and drives our own excitement for what we are creating. We can't wait to share the first deep dive into the gameplay for both Redfall and Starfield soon. Like I said, don't worry about Redfall. We're not interested in that. Leave that. Delay it to 2024. Get it out of my
Yeah, no, I'm
system.
interested.
Phil then tweets out, quote, "These decisions are hard on the teams making the games and our fans. While I fully support giving teams time to release these great games when they're ready, we hear the feedback. Delivering quality and consistency is expected. We will continue to work to better meet those expectations." So there we have it. Redfall in the bins. That was scheduled for summer, in quotes. Starfield, as we discussed just last week, had a release date announced almost 18 months in advance, unprecedented, of the 11th of November 2022. I think that's to mark the 11-year anniversary of Skyrim, so they're trying to be clever bollocks with it. Right, Redfall, new IP, no gameplay. We saw the CGI, kind of saw some leaked pre-alpha footage. It looked like a bit of a lootery type thing. I didn't really know what it was. We don't know what the game's going to be. I kind of was expecting this. That's what I was expecting. But only last week was I sitting here saying, well, they won't be really delaying Starfield because they won't have anything left. And my logic for that was, why would you even think of announcing a release date so far in advance if you wasn't 99.999% sure that you could hit that deadline? And this isn't the 0.000 percentage thing that's happened. This was clearly something that was quite likely to happen and has now come to fruition. So look, I don't have to even talk about this. I mean, there's an impact on several kind of facets of the Xbox ecosystem. That's the new buzzword to use. So you've got Xbox players, people who play on the console, buy games traditionally. They might even buy physical games, Adkins, like you. You never know. Although you won't play that without the internet these days, as Halo Infinite shows. You won't be playing that. You've got PC players as well, like Starfield, Bethesda game. Those games are huge on PC. They are very, very popular. The Steam crowd love them. I don't think many people will be buying it through the Xbox store. The PC players will be on the Steam store if they can get it that way, and they would have been able to. So they've lost a big game. And obviously Game Pass as well. Now, we're not going to talk too much about Redfall because it doesn't mean anywhere close to what was anticipated for Starfield and still is anticipated. And let's just mark the opening of this by saying that we absolutely don't want the games coming out like Cyberpunk. No. So we don't want that. However, you're running a business here of marketing and expectation, anticipation. You got to do better from Xbox's perspective. Here we go.
Phil, friend of the show, got something in the locker.
Well,
June.
We won't have to wait long, will we? Because their June showcase is rapidly approaching. And that's, you could be right. Maybe they have got something up their sleeve. Maybe there are a couple of surprises.
We're not going to get a shadow drop of a new IP. No. Some sort of remaster, I'm feeling. My spidey senses are tingling.
What, like Gears of War? That's been rumoured.
That's been rumoured, yeah. Gears of War.
Forza Horizon 8. That's been... Or Motorsport 8, sorry. That's been rumoured. I mean, that's...
someone will... Next gen version of Oblivion. Everyone will be
They would. They would. So you're thinking they've got something up their sleeve, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, well they've got nothing for the rest of the year. You've got God of War.
Hang on. They do have Deathloop. Which should come out of its exclusivity period with Jim. And then Phil can let his fans play his own games. But like we said last week, just because it's on PlayStation, there's people that this is only for Xbox players because PC players have had access to Deathloop. But so that is a new game for people that have only bought the Series X. Got a lot of good reviews. I know a lot of people seem to not agree with those reviews, but that's something. It's not exactly. It's not sexy. It's not. It's not pretend. That's
sexy football.
No, it's not. It's not. That's bolting away, isn't it? That's sort of part of the bus and try and get a fucking header in at the back post and snatch it.
Michael Owen.
So they could potentially, as we see it now, we don't know. Maybe they have got things for the showcase. It kind of puts a different slant on the showcase for me because I was 100% on board with, yes, we haven't seen anything of Starfield, but we know that with Bethesda games, they like to do these big blowouts at E3 or in June, and then the game releases that same year in the winter, or in the autumn, I should say. So I was fully expecting that. So when we spoke last week, you were, I'll be honest, you were meekly trying to say that you were concerned
Yeah, I
about
was.
a potential delay, and I just overrode you and just out louded
No.
it. But I was more, if you challenged me stronger, my view would have been that they do this. They've done this with Fallout 4. They've done this with Fallout 3. This is kind of like something they tend to do, and yet, 1 week later, I'm sitting here the blower.
Egg on face.
Salty old egg in my fucking eyes, which is not a good feel for anyone. No. So they're kind of snookered with PC and Xbox players there. The Game Pass side of things, though, they could. The beauty of Game Pass for them, and they've shown they've been willing to invest in it and pay what we presume to be decent money for day one third party stuff, is they could plug their calendar with those types of releases. Say, okay, we know this is not exclusive necessarily, but we can give you this on Game Pass. So if you're in our Game Pass ecosystem, you can play this game that you probably we've just went off and bought for 50, 60, 70 quid. So they can react to this in some way and mitigate the gap. Well, I was thinking about this. I don't know if you have anything that springs to mind. Is there anything coming later this year that is third party we're not going to get Starfield?
No,
that's not possible.
There is one little game that they could put on there that could blow the minds. Said Elden Ring.
That's an interest. That is an interesting strategy. That is not. I was thinking they have to do.
Really?
I was thinking they have to do a day one third party.
Like a day
no,
one
but you're right. That
could be a core.
Okay, thinking outside the box, Adkins. I like it. All right. Phil, friend of the. We'll get to friend of the show if you still are or not, but that's going to be marked down as a potential. Interesting. So I think that's the big fish for like stuff that's come out recently. Certainly, like if you can nail that down. But then I saw literally today, that Elden Ring's the best-selling game in the last 12 months. It's beaten Call of Duty Vanguard.
God, how's that?
It's only been out 3 months.
I don't know how that's happened, but
or 2 months.
That is. And the other one, I'm just thinking there, just saw it, but that's a bit later in the year, is Gotham Knights. Do Xbox have a good deal with Rocksteady? No.
Well, it's WB Montreal, isn't it? It's the Origins crew.
Oh, is
and
it?
Well, it won't be them anyway. It'll be the publishers. So it'll still be Warner Brothers Interactive.
Yeah.
So they'll still be doing it. So potentially, to be honest, that's the only one I could pick out. And we got a gameplay reveal of Gotham Knights, which we plan to talk about a little bit later.
Yes.
And we can see whether that would fit the bill. But I've got concerns about that.
Also, oh no. Has it been? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Just looking at another one. Hogwarts Legacy. Is that this year? Or is this
That's supposed to be this year. They are tied into Sony's marketing, it seems, because they gave a state of play. So whether that includes you don't be going on that you don't be going on that Game Pass because we're going to be putting TV adverts saying buy the game for you. So they could be that. It sounds unlikely, but we don't know how these deals are structured. But really.
There isn't a great deal.
The year's over already.
The only God of War is the only one that could knock Elden off that goatee. But
Starfield was going to be the one for me.
Starfield could have been, Could have been the challenger.
So if we say to Phil, action plan is to get Elden Ring on there, and people go, "Oh, it's not day one." I go, well, it's one of the best reviewed games in the last 10 years. So how about you just shut up and play it if you haven't? Now you've got no excuses. And then we also say, look, we can't get Hogwarts at Legacy because Jim's got them on lockdown. But we'll roll the dice on this Gotham Knights. People weren't going to buy that anyway, and they'll be happy to take our money.
Yeah, that's definitely potential. What's the Evil Dead? Is that already out? Not that that's
coming out. It's coming out even now.
It's not out yet.
Or very shortly.
A lot of people playing it right now, but I don't know if it's. I don't know, but it seems like a Game Pass game.
13th, so literally today as we record it. That's what people are playing it. Sniper Elite 5, that's already coming. Look, they can only do so much.
Elden
now.
is the only saviour. Then get that Elden or.
Well, now you shouldn't say it to me because I might sit there and go, "I'll wait for it to an Xbox." Then
Yeah, that's
I'll
true.
wait for it on Game Pass.
Liquid performance.
Well, it tries to be, even that VRR, but it's not perfect, as we've found out.
Gosh.
A little bit snookered. Like we said, we don't know what the showcase is going to hold, so maybe there's going to be a couple of things in there. I really do think nothing can get to Starfield's level, because that's a huge game. Bethesda Game Studios' next big, brand new IP, open world RPG. Like, you just don't get those come along.
And we're sharing Avowed is going to be even further than these two.
Yeah, well, maybe that comes. The
Shadow dropped in June.
Well, my assumption is that anything that wasn't announced this year is coming after those two next year. So they're still 2023, but we could be wrong. Like I said, maybe there's a little bit of 4D chess going on, and Phil's got it covered. But the showcase is going to tell us a lot. Now, let's just work on the knowledge we have now that there's nothing coming potentially. Oh no, there is nothing coming. It's not potentially. That's what the state of play is. And that wasn't a dig there, because it was PlayStation state of play. That's not. It's just the words just fell out of my mouth. But that's how things are. I'm really struggling to love this Series X. It just feels.
You don't like it.
I don't know. I like the piece of kit, but it just feels so empty, soulless. It doesn't have an identity. It hasn't got any bollards dangling off. It hasn't got any identity. Like, for me, a strong, consistent first-party lineup is what builds the legacy of a console and its identity as well. And at the moment, I don't have that as someone who has a Series X, and I bet there's a lot of people with Series consoles that enjoy having, looking back on their console and saying, "Oh yeah, the exclusives on that are really made for the Xbox." It gives, we know what Sony's got. We don't have to keep talking about it, but they just don't have that now. Do you feel the same way? I play a lot of Game Pass games, smaller games on there, like as breakups between the bigger games. But other than that, I'm like, I could be doing this anywhere else. I could be playing this on the PC if I wanted to.
I've got to say, after the barren wasteland of Elden Ring, I've hit a stub. I didn't know what to play. I've since gone back to the old Halo Infinite.
Oh yeah, well there's the identity. Halo Infinite.
Halo Infinite is in there, but it's just, it does. We said it so many times when it first came out, but it just felt like a phone upgrade. And I've not played it I've not turned that on for about 2.5 months, maybe even longer, because I think I was playing fucking Horizon before that. So that's about 3 months I ain't been switched on. I turned it on and there was absolutely nothing that has tickled my fancy. There's nothing been released. I don't know. It's just more of the same, and it's not good enough.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not. I mean, the fact they launched with nothing. I mean, what are you doing? I'd criticise that. And then what's happened is they launched with nothing. Then they went, "Oh, we're buying Bethesda. That's closing." Everyone went, "What?"
Get that in.
The last year, I mean, look, everyone keeps saying it was a great year for Xbox. I'm not having that. I'm sorry. Forza Horizon 5, okay, good game. I respect it. Halo Infinite, okay. Look at the state of that now. Not the state of it. Look at the engagement on that. It's a live service game that's failing at the moment. Although let's be honest, Microsoft have had these games before and turned them around like Sea of Thieves. So it's not dead in the water. And then we had Psychonauts 2, which was on all platforms and was a good to great game. Flight Sim was ported over from PC. Yeah. Which is, that's okay. But considering you gave us nothing for almost a whole year from November to November because you were fucking didn't launch with anything, and then we get this, nothing in Q1 or Q2 either.
Binned.
Don't worry about that. But don't worry, Starfield and Redfall coming Q3, Q4. All right. Now they're gone. This console ain't going to start till 2023. Why have I bought one in 2020?
Cool. 2 years. I'd have paid it off by then.
You would have paid it off. It'll be yours to own. Oh God.
Mine to own. Still nothing. Nah, I think it is just that Game Pass fucking thing. Like what you're doing, we're playing them little smaller games. Yeah. That's the way to play it now. But fuck me, you can do that on your Switch.
Well, you can do it on your fucking phone if you really want to. Yeah. There's rumours coming out they're going to release this TV puck. People will be streaming to their TV. I don't know.
Cool.
This is just an absolute blur, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be sitting there now for the showcase, folding my arms, like, well, when's any of this coming? Like, what's can you fulfill my dreams? No, I already would have made my mind up about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just can't believe the arrogance to sit there last year and say, 18 months out, don't you worry, we've got it in hand.
Yeah.
I know we all know how turbulent game development is, what can go wrong, how easy delays are. So to sit there last June and say, well, there's a release date for you, and then walk away all cocky like, yeah, we've got this in the bag. Then there was follow-up interviews. I think Ryan McCaffrey at IGN did one with Todd Howard, pressed him on the release date, said, is this definitely coming? There's a long time between now and yep. It wasn't a hint of there something going wrong, and it's just, it annoys me. It annoys me that these companies can't just get out of their own way and just be sensible. And then you can say, well, you're all fucking idiots for eating it up and going along for the ride. And it's like, we're doing what you want us to do. Come on. Yeah. Here's the big question. Go on.
I was just saying, just the building of these portfolios, these studios, it's all been building.
2018, that started.
Exactly.
What are we doing now?
Years on, the gym hype train just keeps rolling, releasing hit after hit. And now just fucking feel cock up.
If Jim can do that, it can't be that hard.
No.
I know he's inherited a really good team, so it'd be.
Yeah.
He hasn't fucked it yet. There's still time for that, but it's not a good look. The big question for everyone at home though is Phil Spencer still friend of the show?
Well, after we released that video.
And he cost me dearly. Made me look a right fucking idiot. Look, I'm of the mind that he can still be friend of the show. And
he could be still friend of the show. He's got time to redeem it. The thing is, he's not going anywhere.
There's a stay of execution. Okay, I'm willing just to write the rest of this year off. Just so in case something does surprise me on the Xbox side, I can be happy for it. So from this, I'm cleaning the deck. I'm saying I ain't interested. All right, nothing's coming this year. But 2023, I want there to be something towards the back end of 2022, bleeding us into 2023, giving us some confidence that we're going to have. They could have all the stuff that's cooking. If they released 4 of those in that year, they could have a legendary year. So, all's well that ends well, as I say. But that year is their last chance before I cut Phil.
Before you do it, one last. I remember the end of last year thinking, fuck me, my wallet is going to take an absolute hemorrhaging next year. With all these delays, we got fucking Starfield, we got Breath of the Wild 2.
Hold that thought, because we're now on to question of the week. Have we lost the potential glory year of 2022 already? We were supposed to have, and some of these have come out, some haven't, Horizon Forbidden West, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Breath of the Wild 2, Starfield, Redfall, Suicide Squad.
Dead.
And other surprises that you'd expect throughout the year. Couple of things usually pop up. Yeah. And we've lost Breath of the Wild, we've lost Starfield, we've lost Redfall, we've lost Suicide Squad. We don't know what's going on with God of War Ragnarok. And we've had Horizon get crushed by Elden Ring one day after it released, pretty much. We were bigging this up as a big year, and now it's all just. I feel like in May it's crumbled away.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, it really has. When is Forspoken?
Forspoken is in September now.
This year. That's this year. It's just this year, isn't it? Just having a look at what else there was.
Paper's telling me that the Guild Wars 2 expansion came out, so 2022 is perfect.
That's the absolute perfect year. The day before, another blower. Deary me. Yeah, I think it's lost now. Like I say, I remember last year thinking, fuck me, all these games, they're bleeding into 2022. It's going to be a big year. This is going to be like the 2017 debacle. We've got absolute hitters.
Not close
and now
now,
we're
is
sitting
it?
here. No,
my
no,
bar.
unless stuff gets shadow dropped,
The
which I
real
highly doubt.
the real stinker for me is that my final excuse for not playing Elden Ring is evaporated now. I literally
Yeah.
I will literally be forced to play it
That's,
because there'll be nothing new that
yeah,
I want to play.
that is one good thing I feel that we ain't got many games this year, is that backlog could be cleared.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've been doing some unfinished business with replaying stuff, so it's good for me in that sense. But there we go. Starfield and Redfall delayed till the first half of 2022. We'll of course report back if and when we find out anything about that. Paper's got Starfield in his fantasy gaming team. I think Adcock's got it in the Grand Prix, so they're going to have to shuffle the deck in June or perhaps later when the transfer window opens. Look, we just banged on Xbox there, but unfortunately, the other news item, or one of the other news items I wanted to speak about, was another negative Xbox story. Headline: Xbox criticised after outage leaves fully owned games unplayable for 4 days. So, to catch people up, over the last weekend, I think it started on, what would it have been? It would have been like Friday the 6th, I think. People were reporting that there was a server outage. Xbox acknowledged it, and that people couldn't play online games in most cases. But there were reports, and not reports, this is what happened. People also couldn't play single-player offline games. And the reason is because the Xbox has some level of DRM which has to authenticate against the Xbox server at various times. I don't think it's every time, but it's like a schedule of events. And it couldn't have access to that, so it stopped people from playing games they had fully downloaded on their Xbox system. And this went on for 4 days.
Oh. That is...
Didn't affect physical games. Here's the cliff notes. Seems to impact some games and not others. There's quite a few variables of it in terms of like it didn't really make sense why some people did or didn't have the message. And yeah, fully owned digital games were impacted, not just the streaming and not just stuff that you would ping from Game Pass. So look, this is something that I've gone basically 100% digital at this point. And I wasn't affected by this at all.
No.
Because I wasn't playing my Xbox, surprise. And I shouldn't do that. And it's funny because there was years ago on one of the first podcasts we did, Logan and Hall were on it, and one time over Christmas, I think PSN went down for 3 days. They got hacked, and
I think
it was only like a few days. But I went to play something. It was GTA, and I couldn't play it, and I let off on about it on the podcast, and they were like, "Do something else, go outside, all this fuck." And now that those two, you can't even get 1 minute of their time from them. So, would they have been that happy if they were their one gaming session for the week flushed because they couldn't get on the servers? I don't think so. But since then, I've not really had an issue with this, and it's one of those things that I've ignored. But these are like callbacks to the Xbox One almost, where they were talking about digital ownership, and there was DRM and bits and pieces like that. And look, they've snuck in a level of DRM that I wasn't really aware of because I hadn't been affected by it, and it's bitten them and players in the arse. As like a physical man, mainly for you, does this vindicate your decision to sort of continue pumping money into physical games?
Potentially, yeah, because I don't want to get snarled in that. Did they say what main games it did? They didn't.
I think there's a list somewhere on the people that have made it, but it was a bit odd.
That is a stinker. Yeah, I mean, I tried to go full dig, and then crumbled straight away. Backed out after seeing low prices.
Yeah,
but yeah, this sort of thing. Cool.
Although actually, let's be honest now. What was the last physical Xbox game you purchased?
Oh, now, well done. I'll tell you what I did buy.
Yep.
And it was because I had vouchers, was Assassin's Creed Valhalla on Xbox.
Yes.
But an Xbox exclusive Gears 4. Gears 4.
So if you were playing your Xbox, you would have most likely been snarled up in this because Game Pass is this is the thing, isn't it? It's like if you're going to go down this digital road and have Game Pass, which I think we agree is a great value in service. Here you have to understand that if it works 95% of the time, that's fine. And whilst it works in the background with no impact, it's not a problem. But you know, when and if you have these issues, the fire is going to come your way, and it's fully deserved.
Yep, 100%. But
can you imagine if they had what Sony had like in 2006 or 7, where it got hacked and went down for weeks?
Oh yeah, it's like weeks
and weeks.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine
personal details being squandered?
Well, that's that's not saying they're the same, but you know, cybersecurity is a concern. I mean, things have improved massively in the last sort of, I'd say, 5 to 10 years. There's definitely a lot of money pumped into keeping things secure. Doesn't mean it can't happen one day that someone gets in and pulls your servers down and goes, they ain't going back up for ages.
No.
And then you can have a real disaster on your hand if you're on the Xbox side.
Yeah. Wasn't there some sort of concern with Elden Ring because of Dark Souls 3? There's that fucking...
Yeah, there's an exploit. It's still not up, Dark Souls 3. It's still off on PC because the exploit hasn't been fixed. I don't know whether...
It hasn't been fixed. But no, it is a concern. And yeah, this digital world ain't all what it's cracked up to be.
No, I tend to agree. But
Why?
so not a good week. Not a good 7 to 10 days for Team Xbox and the Green Bloods. Feel that just gonna have to start putting your fingers out. They said they're gonna do a platform migration that's gonna mitigate the issue, but I don't think it means it's turning on. It doesn't sound like it's turning off the DRM, which is what people want them to do. I couldn't give a toss why Microsoft feel like they need to have this, or why the others feel they need to do it. I don't really care. But this just completely vindicates all the people that have been expressing concerns about DRM, whilst most people, including myself, have sort of just hand-waved it away and been like, well, don't... Come on, they're never going to affect anything. They're all up-to-date, secure, they're reliable. And this just shows that they're not. And there can be... It could have been a lot worse, I guess, is the only saving grace there. Gotham Knights gameplay demo and release date. So we've got about 13 minutes worth of gameplay. 25th of October 2022 locked in. Releasing for PC, PS5, Xbox Series consoles only. So that's interesting.
Ooh,
so no
old gen,
old gen, old tut. They're saying 2-player co-op only. Weeks before there was rumours of there being 4-player. And they're kind of the details we've got. So what did you think of the game that was shown then? For me, it looked okay. Nothing more, nothing less. I appreciate that they've showed this much of the game in full flow, but it looked a bit rough around the edges, which is maybe to be expected because it's far out. And let's be honest, I sat here and said very similar things about Guardians of the Galaxy. That turned out to be really good. So I'll never say never. But as we say, didn't grab me by the bollards, Dawn, if I'm honest.
It didn't. No. I mean, I'm a sucker, so I am sucked in. I'm a big fan of the story as well. The Court of Owls, specifically, is a very good Batman story, which they're taking and working with, so I can't wait for that. But taking that away, just the game, I was a bit peeved off because of the gear system that they're going for that Destiny gear syndrome. And already we're getting fucking pre-order bonuses with certain skins. And
so
I was like, right.
I wanted to talk about this because, and shout out to McWomble from Pixel Pints, because I hadn't looked at any of the pre-order stuff, but he sent over the pre-order list. So for $79.99 / 80 UK pounds in real money, you'll get a custom Bat Cycle skin, but you'll get the Visionary pack also, which has exclusive Night Watch by Jim Lee Transmog, Beyond Suit Style inspired by Batman Beyond Universe, salvage to build new gear, boosted gear, exclusive emote. Nightwing is going to be doing an emote with Red Hood. They're going to be doing the fucking dancing, the dabbing, all that shit. They're going to be all over that. And then 3 exclusive suit colorways. Is this going to be another Marvel's Avengers?
Sounds like it.
Do you reckon?
Well, I saw this. I mean, it's gonna. Yeah, it is gonna be. It could potentially. I've got to say, when I saw that, I was like, right, what are we doing here? It's like, fucking hell. At first, I thought, 'cause it looked like some of the costumes and stuff Do you remember in Justice 2 where you had like the loot and gear and that?
Yeah.
I was like, right, they're just going to port that system over into this game. I was like, oh, okay, that weren't too bad, even though they had fucking mother boxes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That. But yeah, now when you've got this gear system in it, and yeah, alarm bells start already, and you're right, I've never really made that link, but that stinks of Avengers
Does it?
Marvel.
Oh.
And we all know exactly where that road leads.
Well, it'll fit well in on Game Pass,
Misery.
wouldn't it? Get all the get the numbers up and get those
Yeah.
microtransactions flowing for people. Good grief.
That is unbelievable. But yeah, I've got to say that thing. Apart from that, like, I thought the combat and stuff looks pretty fun. It looks like it's got that very much Arkham DNA in it already. You can see it. It could be good for a bit of co-op play. But yeah, it did look a bit rough around edges, particularly in the frames department. But yeah, it was just that whole gear system, the leveling system. I'm all for an RPG and that, but
Wow. That's not that, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely didn't. I mean, if you just saw a screenshot of it, you go, "Why is that not on PS4 and Xbox One?" And when you see the thing
Yeah.
run, I'm like, "Well, that's why."
Oh,
it's
that's
running.
what's
It's running
cracking.
on either a PC or a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. They're not going to put it on anything less than those. And yet, it looked like it was struggling a little bit. So it doesn't look current gen only, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Then again, nor did Elden Ring, and yet we're getting
No, that's
record
true.
higher things. But
I just noticed a little bit of the old fucking ray tracing in there, some reflections.
was it though? Or was it just like a
Well,
fucking bitmap
Might be a
image?
Yeah, it probably was, to be fair. But
Did
No.
you like anything about? I liked Nightwing's glider. Although again,
Yeah,
that looked like
yeah.
a Fortnite glider, and I was like, "Well, what
Yeah.
are we doing here?"
Yeah,
It
it's
looked
weird.
like there might be civilians roaming around, but they were very
that's what I was trying to
they were
look
very
out.
sparse. It was like a handful
Yeah.
at most. But one of my big complaints about the Batman games was that it was always in an empty city because something had happened. People, I think one time they said, "Oh, people are staying in because it's Christmas," and I'm like, "What?" At least have one person out. Fuck me. Well, it is a shithole Gotham, so
Exactly.
maybe not. Fast
Yeah.
bat travel, you know.
Yeah.
That's all contextualised, so I could use that without worry.
Yeah.
And then you had lots of
got
outfits with
fucking-
stats, but
Red Hood shooting non-lethal weapons.
so yeah, he said non-lethal weapons. Obviously, trying to say look, they're not killing people. Then he kicked someone off the building. He ain't going to survive that.
No, I remember when they did that in Arkham Knight. You got that fucking tank and he's blowing shit up. Nah, they're all right. Don't worry about that. Non-lethal rounds, mate.
Yeah, nonsense.
Unbelievable. But I don't know. That's how I'm a big fan of the source material, the world, the characters. I love all that. So I'm looking forward to that. But as a video game, concerns already. Concerns already with how the game is going to be, and it's this year, not too months away really.
Yeah. No, you're
So
right.
it'll be interesting to see, but yeah, I've got to say, concerns already.
Scary stuff. We'll see. I mean, 2-player. Maybe we could play it together.
Yeah.
Right, if we was going to do, would you want to? I know there's two other characters. I can't remember what they are. Batgirl. Or...
Who got Batgirl and Robin? Is it Robin? Red Robin?
Isn't Nightwing Robin, or is that what he migrates
He
to?
was a Robin. He turned into Batman. He had another. There's Batman. Hold on. No, it's Robin. Then Robin. He's the first Robin, Dick Grayson, and he turns into Nightwing.
Right.
And then there's another one, the Red Hood, remember from Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
He's the one with the guns. And then there's another one, which is his real son. Batman has a son called Damian Wayne.
Yes.
I think it's Damian.
I think it
and
is,
then
yeah.
He becomes. I think he calls himself Red Robin or just Robin. I can't remember now.
Silly bastard. So who'd you... I mean, we only saw two of them, but would you be
two of
Nightwing
them.
or Red Hood?
I'd go for Nightwing. I think he seems the coolest, and yeah.
I would be... I liked his... Like I said, I liked his
glider.
His glider, but then Red Hood had the grappling hook, and he could bounce. And I'm a fan of being a ranged scum, so I feel like I could just shoot and hide and just sort of chip away at bigger enemies. We'll see.
Yeah, it'd be nice to mix and have a little match, but it'd be worth it.
Two quick things, and then we'll hand over to. I think it's going to be Adcock. He's going to give some impressions on telling lies. So he'll be
a big one.
He'll be on doing that to close us out for this week. But Nintendo had an Indie World showcase.
Oh yeah, see.
Did you watch it?
I I did not know. I thought it was an announcement, and then all these fucking trailers started flooding in,
Yeah.
and I was like, right.
Yeah, no. So I did watch it, and it was awful. The stream was out of sync. Like the audio was out of sync with the, and I thought it was just me. So I asked someone else that was watching it, and he was like, "Yeah, no, it's out of sync for me as well." I was like, "Bloody hell!" The two presenters were the most annoying fucks I've heard for a long time, and then nothing really caught my eye. The only saving grace is it was like 25 minutes, so it wasn't a big waste of time. And I don't know what I expected, but you know,
No,
that was.
I normally,
You normally
one of
like a
those-
good old indie showcase.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially for that Switch, and they normally stick a nice one right at the end. You normally get like, I don't know, well, not something as big as GTA, but you'll get like a fucking Doom or something. Go, oh right, that's quite fun. I think they had like they've done Save the Walking Dead for that once. It was like, yep, Walking Dead will be coming on Switch. You're like, cool. But no, yeah, it was just straight in, straight out. I was like, oh, I didn't really see much of it.
Interesting. Another little news story from Nintendo's world. Salmon piping up in the Dimp group, posting off the old news about the Switch has surpassed PS4 sales in the US. So
That is a big one.
not the worldwide sales though. Is what I was going to say. I didn't read it properly. I just saw that he was saying that, and I was like, well, it's expected, but hasn't even got the worldwide sales. So if Salmon put the champagne back on ice, the Switch will overtake it undoubtedly. But
What about in that Japanese market? That's the real contender, isn't it?
well, it's the
Gonna
trouble
both
when you
be
start
very
breaking it down and go, well, let's get the data from Essex only. That's what really matters. Who's got what in Essex?
10.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, Nintendo will probably be the best there 'cause it's the cheapest. We know
Yeah.
our brethren like to save money, casuals.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will overtake 107.65 million is what they posted, and then that's worldwide, and then the PS4's on 116.9, so it'll get there by the end of the year, if not before. So that's going to be moving up, and if it keeps going, PS2 155 million. Could it?
Oh, we could see it.
Could it? Another couple of years out of it? Might end up going on. Salmon took the piss out of me and said I once said that Nintendo should make software, not hardware. And I still think they should, because their hardware is fucking gash, and their games would look and run so much better if they were on a device that could handle it. But we have to accept stuff that said the shine rubbed off it. But no doubt that's popular and doing well. So what the fuck do I know? EA and FIFA have formally split. EA Sports FC will be taken over in 2023. So the last FIFA game made by EA Sports will be in 2022. So that'll be this year's one. And it'll be called, confusingly, FIFA 23. We actually spoke about this a little while ago because there was rumours bubbling. I don't think my opinion's not changed in that EA will be fine because they've got pro clubs, Ultimate Team. They've got the FIFA Pro license, which has the names of the players and most of the teams. Not everything, but the biggest that any game's got or going to have.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was listening to a few podcasts and like Americans talking about it. They've got no clue. They're like, well, yeah, someone could set up a Premier League game, a Premier League only game. Like, that's not going to work. The reason people play football's a world sport. Like, you need to have as much of the teams taking part as possible. And then there was like, well, the FIFA name carries off loads of esteem. And I was like, well, it does. But that's why I asked people like Parky, Hall, Biff. I was like, what? You understand what's happening. What are you going to buy next year? Let's say someone else does a FIFA game, and then EA Sports have EA Sports FC, and they pretty much all said we'll get the EA game because they've got pro clubs, they've got the career mode, they've got ultimates, they've got all these features that people have, become accustomed to having. So they're going to go there, and it will still have the majority of the players and whatnot. But FIFA come out and was like, yeah, there'll be only one authentic game, and it'll be the best. And I was like, will it?
Could
be on mobile, mate.
FIFA go to Konami?
Wow. Could, maybe, but
Is that esports? Is that Konami? That's the old Pez.
eFootball, yeah.
eFootball.
And then you've got UFL or UFL coming.
UFL, that's the free to play one.
Yeah.
It always
Look, they'll do okay if there's a market there for free to play stuff, but you're not gonna. You can't. You need the same thing. Happen. People said, Championship Manager's out, and there's Football Manager. What's that? Oh, Championship Manager, I know that. I'll go and play that. No, it didn't. Football Manager. Everyone knew that Football Manager was the people that made Championship Manager. And guess what? They all went and played Football Manager because Championship Manager was gash.
Yeah.
That's what will happen here, is my prediction. But we'll see. More egg on face coming, no doubt, in the next 12 months. Right, let's hand over to... Well, I'll be handing over to myself, but you give Adkins a little break, and then the Tom A brother can take over and talk about telling lies. So, as per usual, if you've made it this far, you've got another half an hour or so to go. So stay tuned for Mr. Adcock giving us his thoughts on telling lies. And we'll see you on the other side. Here we are then, back with Pac-Man Adcock himself, 2-time Dimp Digital Gaming Quiz champion. He's here to report back in on telling lies. So many of you probably won't have heard of this game, but this is developed by Sam Barlow. And again, you may be going, who the fuck's that? Which is fair enough. These aren't exactly big blockbuster AAA games that are getting all the media coverage, but Sam Barlow developed Her Story back in 2015. And the follow-up, Telling Lies, he released in 2019. He's done a couple of games as well. I know he's done something called #War Games, which I haven't played, but he's the creative lead on that. But this is a director and writing gig that he's got for Telling Lies. Annapurna Interactive published it, so it's not self-published like Her Story. But you're here to give us a quick run-through of Telling Lies itself. So let's do some cards on the table then. What did you play Telling Lies on? Is this because I played Her Story on PC back in the day because it was like £2 on Steam by the time I got around to it. But we know you're not Master Race, so it's going to be one of the two consoles.
That's it, yeah. I mean, I think PC is the way to play these games, but no, I had it on my Xbox Series S, and yes, Game Pass freebie, $10.99. However way you want to look at it.
Yeah, excellent. So you played Her Story back in the day. Haven't played #War Games, so we'll table that. What did you think of Her Story back? Because I think we actually did a session on it years ago, but just as a refresher, because these are quite unique games. They're essential. Well, I'll let you describe it, but what was your thoughts on Her Story, just so people can get an idea of whether you enjoyed his previous work?
Yeah, I can't remember how I heard of Her Story, but I played it. It's when I was living in Canada and we had roommates. So we played it 4-ball just one evening. I must have known it was quite short. Anyway, yeah, we all just kind of got some drinks in, some food, sat down early evening and just bashed it out in one sitting, like 4 or 5 hours.
Oh.
I'll be honest, apart from the major sort of plot development, I can't really remember it too much, but I know I enjoyed it. Like, that's the takeaway. I was like, very unique. I hadn't seen anything like it before. I mean, more like a kind of video board game than an actual video game. But yeah, it was just very unique. So I've always remember he was doing something different, or something new, I should say. And yeah, when this pops up in my little Game Pass feed, I was like, oh, I'll play that when I've got some time.
Yeah, so give the guys and girls a sort of brief overview about how Telling Lies and also Her Story works. I'm assuming it's in the similar vein of like live action video, but kind of without giving away like how you get to the end and all that stuff, how the game actually operates, because there's not a lot of stuff out there that operates in this way.
No, yeah. So, I mean, basically, Telling Lies just expands like on the back of Her Story. So they're both exactly the same. Her Story it's like full motion video.
Yeah.
You're sitting at a 90s kind of PC, I guess. You can kind of see so you've got the screen, you've got the desktop. You can maybe see your silhouette in the desktop. I think every now and again, like maybe traffic would drive past and you would see your own character like reflected back on you.
Right.
Essentially, you've got one program. It like has, I think you load it up and it has 4 videos. You watch a video and it will say, Brad loves Julie. And you'll be like, right.
That's the title of the video.
What am I gonna do? Yeah, well, no, sorry. So there'll be in Her Story, it's the whole thing. It's just one woman talking in a police interview room.
Yes.
So
that's it.
You'll have 4 videos to begin with, 3 or 4. You'll listen to them and it might mention some people's names, like Brad, Julie, and they met at the cinema.
Yeah.
So then you've got like a Google search, a program search, you can just type in anything you want and you're looking for those keywords. So you might type in Brad or Julie or cinema and that'll bring up another 6 videos or another 5 videos. And basically you're trying to piece together. This is the thing, to be honest. I remember one of the big reveals in her story. I can't remember really what you're trying to do. I think it might have been someone was accused of murder or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, no, I can't remember the details of it now, which is not a good sign, but if it's one of those things.
I mean, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
7 years ago now. Anyway, so and then I remember like at some point in the story, you get so many videos. Essentially, you solve the puzzle, the like what's going on,
the mystery,
and at that point, you can the mystery. There you go. You can just leave the game, or you can carry on and try and find like 100% of the videos. So that's it, and then. Quite simple then, though, as I said. So just one actor, a lady playing the part, and you're just getting that same front-on interview video every time. So it's like conducted over one police interview, I guess, broken into like 3 hours of video. Her telling lies, exactly the same concept, so full motion video. But as I said, it's all just like it's typical like sequel. It's just expanded. So you got multiple characters. You got like 4 main protagonists now. You've got a massive supporting cast. You've got various locations like boats and casinos and like vehicles, all sorts. And then you've got multiple like devices these are filmed on. So you might be watching a mobile phone, an iPad, a computer screen, webcam, all sorts basically. And then some of it will be like as if it's happening like there and then. So like with her story, obviously it was all in the past. In telling lies, I think the span of time is probably like 2 years. Some of it's like
so it's not just you sitting there at the computer for 3 hours. This is actually you as the protagonist going through.
The game time. You're playing it all through the night.
Yep.
So it's one. The videos are over a 2-year time span.
Right.
You looking at the videos,
you're
doing it over one night. So basically, it's quite clever. So in this one, you see your character like exactly the same concept on the screen. You can see your silhouette the whole time. This time reflecting back in you because it's late.
Little ball Pac-Man head there, or is it?
No, it doesn't. Not that. Just It's not noticing. Like basically, when you'll get to key bits and like I guess uncovering things or just percentage of footage, like things will happen. Like at one point a cat jumps up and she gets scared and then her boyfriend says, I'm going to bed, it's like 2 a.m, like when you're going to pack that in, things like that. But the other key thing with this one is that every time you watch a video, you're only ever seeing like one half of one side of the video. So if we were having this conversation, and this was part of the game, they'd only hear somebody like viewing it in telling lies would only see me talking. They wouldn't.
That's a disaster.
They wouldn't know I'm talking to you. Yeah, they wouldn't know I'm talking to you. They wouldn't know what you're saying in reply.
That's the bad
half.
So
you spend like the first few hours of the game just wondering who they're talking to. But then as it kind of goes on, you might be like, you'll know who they're talking to there because you meet the supporting cast. You'll be like, oh, he's talking to a child there. Or he's talking to his girlfriend or whatever, like so. That's kind of the puzzle number 1, essentially, is figuring out who everyone is. Puzzle 2 then is trying to get to the conclusion of this new mystery, I guess.
Right. So that's it. So you only ever see one side of the conversation, and the conversation could be taken place in a number of different locations, like you mentioned. The footage could be taken from a CCTV camera, an iPhone, a webcam, like you said. Do you ever get to see the other side of that conversation once you've kind of sussed things out? Is that part of the process? Is that you will get the complete conversation once X milestone has been passed?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So at the beginning, it's really difficult because it could be talking to anyone about any, because that's the thing. It's kind of it's really good, but also some of it can be frustrating because you might have like a 6-minute video where the other person's doing the majority of the talking. And it might just be like reactions, like, eyebrow raise, yes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what the fuck?
And you can't hear none of this. You just see the reactions. No. That's it. Interesting.
It would just be you, just, little Pac-Man face going, yeah, good.
So when you get to hear that sort of second part of it, like the actual person speaking later on in the game, I'm guessing the perspective of the footage changes, like. So it won't be the same camera angle. It might be a camera that's set up to see the whole room, and then you can hear what they're saying and see the whole thing. Or is it still from that perspective, looking at little sort of confused Pac-Man, going, yep.
Yeah, so that's it. So say we were doing this on phones,
Yep.
you'd only have it. It wouldn't be like you wouldn't get it from CCTV. You'd be literally getting the other half. If we were, like, so if I was calling you on my phone to your phone, I would just see your phone, and then I would just see my phone. So you don't get some new.
And are they all done using technology like that, where it makes sense that you would only there could only be one recording to start with, because it's like you said, it's taken off a certain device, so you'd never get the other person's part of it. Okay, it makes sense.
It does. It peels away from that a little bit. Like, you will get things where there's like hidden devices or CCTV, as I said. So there are like bits like that where you might get like a group interaction, or someone like sneaks off into a hall to take a phone call and it's getting picked up on some kind of recording device. Like, there's all sorts, but it's pretty clever the way they've done that kind of side of things.
Excellent. So I'm assuming it works in the same way as Her Story, in that you will listen to a conversation, and then you have some sort of search tool to put key phrases in to find new footage that you hope will, over time build up a profile of what's going on. Is that the same? There's no changes.
It's exactly
to that
the
formula?
same.
Okay.
Oh no, exactly the same.
That's fine. And then next question, and be careful when I ask these. What's the basic kind of premise and setup of the game? Like, are you given a mission statement to start with, or is it one of these things where it just chucks you in, you're just watching people having conversations, and then you figure it out? Like, are you a detective? Are you a PI? Or is this stuff that's revealed later on? If it's stuff that's revealed, then, just keep it vague. But, like, what's the kind of setup to it? Or is it just like, I'm just some weird person sitting at a computer looking through this?
So you've got a stolen hard drive. Hang on, so keep this quiet. I played it a while ago, to be honest.
It's where he gives
but
away
you've
the
got a
ending,
stolen
everyone.
hard drive. Essentially, somebody tells a lie that brings 4 characters together and can affect you and your life, and you've got to figure out what's going on, like, in one night, basically, before.
There's no actual timer on this.
Like, no, but there's like an in-game clock, but it's not real time. It just, like I think I said to you a second ago. So basically,
it's milestones.
You might I don't know if it's like, exactly. So a milestone's hit, and all of a sudden, someone will say, "Hey, look!" Like, in the background of the character who's like your avatar. Someone might say, "Look, it's 2 a.m, 3 a.m, 4 a.m. Like, you need to wrap this up," like, etc. And then what I noticed is on this one for sure is you're basically looking for one final video. Once you see that video, I think if you happen to find it 10 minutes in, it would kind of end the game at that point, even though you'd have no idea what's actually going through. So then there's like an ending sequence, whereas in Her Story, I think basically you got a chance to exit the game. That kind of, you could call it quits then, or you could carry on going. Whereas this one has like a hard ending, basically. Okay. Like, you get something happens to your character in the real world as such, and at that point, you've seen what you need to see, basically. You can keep going in as well. You can just reload it from that point and not watch that last video and keep collecting them.
But it's not contextualising that sort of narrative. It's like there is a hard and fast sort of drop dead. Once that happens, that story is over with. Whereas, like you said, in Her Story, it's like, you can go back in if you want. You're like, all right, I will, maybe.
Yeah, and it made it very vague that you'd even got to the end in Her Story. I think that you just realised something, you had a chance to exit, and you're like, oh, is that it? It's weird, because in Her Story, I feel like I don't obviously I won't spoil that in case anyone plays it, but there's definitely a moment, I can't remember, it's maybe halfway through, like a big revelation, and it's kind of cool. At that point, you realise something about the character who's talking. It's kind of a real like aha moment.
Yeah, the stakes suddenly just ratchet up, don't they? When you kind of stumble across that information. Yeah. Interesting.
This doesn't have that.
Okay.
But it does have that hard ending, and I feel like I prefer the hard ending of Telling Lies, but I definitely preferred the kind of simplicity and the kind of couple of big plot points, big reveals you find in Her Story. Like, it kind of is a bit like how what I like and dislike about The Last of Us 1 and 2. One's a very simple story, 2 characters, and then the other one, it's a much bigger project. It's got its better points. But personally, I think her story, I just kind of like that simpler plot. I like the
Interesting. So one thing I'm really interested in is playing this on a console, because I played it on PC, Her Story. So you get a keyword, cat. I type cat in, takes less than a second. You're playing this on a console, on the Series S. How do you navigate getting around it? Are there any assists it kind of gives you to pop like key phrases in, or have you got to manually bring up a little keyboard and find because I can, and this is not quite the same, but 12 minutes is like a point and click game, and I immediately had to turn that off my Xbox and go to the PC because it felt like it required a mouse to kind of support it. Does telling lies run into the same issue there, it being on a console, or have they made some adjustments that you feel like make it, playable and not too much of a pain?
It's certainly playable, and also I play most of my things on console, so I guess I'm kind of a bit more lenient with it. But essentially, it's got like a very standard, it's like search, same like search, like keyboard you'd get on Netflix now. All the streaming services, or basically it's predictive text. So as you start typing, it will fill out the word for you. That's the headache, I guess, because you're going to be quicker on a keyboard than messing around with that virtual keyboard. Everything else, they've done their best. You can you basically forward the video with a drag, and so the time of the video you can like skip ahead, because basically what you're really or you can just like hold forward. You've got like subtitles the whole way through. If it is one of those conversations, I'll say, where it's more reactions, you can literally just press forward, and then when he starts talking again, you just hit play. So they really do their best to kind of make it as painless as possible. But of course, it's going to be easier on that PC with the keyboard.
That's fair enough. I mean, I did wonder
I think you can play it on. I think you can play it on mobile. That might be a bridge too far with it. To be honest. I don't know how that.
It is on iOS. Don't know if it's quite on Android yet. But yeah, Her Story went to mobile eventually, so they would have had a similar kind of issue there. So I think what's also interesting to kind of explore and just get an idea of how you played it and who with, because you mentioned with Her Story it was sort of like a group effort, and in this case, I know, but the audience don't, but you didn't play this solo. This was a joint effort, which is, I think, one of the cool things about these games is that non-gamer can get involved and really enjoy it.
Yeah, anyone who likes sort of like a mystery and whodunit, this is up their street. You don't have to know anything about video games. So I played it with my other half, Sarah. Mm-hmm. I've got to say, I think without her, because my brain power, like memory is terrible, man. Like so bad. Like she had, again, pages and pages of notes, timelines, all sorts going on. She got us through this because I'm pretty garbage at them, but I enjoyed it. Sarah was my right-hand man.
Yeah.
I think she actually really liked it because she actually kept going on. So once we got to the end, she jumped back in and I kept seeing her finding out more videos because it's really difficult to work out at first. There's like, obviously your core four, there's a couple of people that are like heavy supporters and there's a lot on the of outliers. So there's a lot of red herrings and you really don't know. You've got this time, it's not like Her Story of whatever that core, like I said, I think it's someone got murdered. This one is, you're not even sure first few hours what exactly you're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a lot more difficult. So you do end up going down rabbit holes and only in hindsight, once we actually like got to a point where we kind of figured out we knew everything. And then we looked up the ending just to make sure it was good. But all right, yeah, like we knew what we were doing, but fuck, we wasted like a good hour over here or chasing this guy up and trying to find those keywords. It's quite a difficult one, I would say. I would definitely say for anyone who hasn't played them, play Her Story first, and if you enjoy it, then jump into Telling Lies.
So that suggests to me that this is a bit more complex then, in terms of how much you've got to manage.
You see, I think you said after 30. I can't remember now. The brain starts decomposing.
Brain and body starts breaking down.
41 now, so it's either me getting a bit of a weaker mind, or I would say.
How much wine were you drinking while you're playing it? That's got to factor in.
It's over on this one, mate. It was on the job, mate. It's late at night.
How many sessions did it take you? Like handful, couple, over a week, couple of weeks?
Yeah, over a week, probably 4 sessions,
What do you reckon on the hour count, roughly?
8 or 9.
Okay, so it's not a one night jobby really. It's
I'd be interested. Oh, do you know what? I think when we beat it, it said you had watched maybe 60% of all available videos.
yeah.
A lot of video to watch. To be honest, should point this out really, because these things are going to live and die on the actual actors.
Well,
Because
yeah.
that is who you're watching. I don't really know. I didn't really recognise anyone, but having looked them up, the main guy, I guess, because there is one main lead, he is from Prometheus. And
Interesting.
should really know his name. Don't.
Fassbender.
But he does
No.
definitely not Fassbender. But he does a stellar job because, and what's actually quite good as well is because you might end up watching videos multiple times, because basically a keyword will say Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
you'll get dropped in at a video, but you might only be seeing the back half of it where Coca-Cola was mentioned. This might be like 4 minutes before. So then sometimes you might be watching it, about to forward it. You're like, no, let's just let it run again. Because there's things going on in the background of the videos. Like a car might pull up outside and you might just, they're watching a house. Then you're like, hang on a minute.
Right.
So it's very clever. Like at its best, some of the moments are pretty amazing, what they do with it all and what's going on. Or just even in the acting sort of chops, a little raised eyebrow here or a sigh, and you might be like, I think he must be talking to his ex-wife perhaps, or his guy fucked him over because he looks pissed off. Like there's little subtle clues all over the place. The acting is very, very, very good.
Well, that's good because it has to be, doesn't it? It can't be at a subpar standard. Like, it can't even be like base sort of like comedy TV standard, because I'm assuming the subject matter is quite serious throughout most of this. You can't really have corny actors. It's got to be played straight. And I'm sure there's maybe parts that are funny in it. Maybe there's not. Maybe it is just bleak. But generally, you kind of need the actors to be convincing. And it sounds like, again, that was the great thing about her story. The actress in that, she was fantastic. Like carried that game, on her back, which was great. So one thing, just cycling back a little bit to the note taking that you were doing outside of the game, is there anything in the game to help you with this, or is it just like just shows the video and the title and that's it? There's no way you can jot notes down or where it will save like key moments. This is all like do your own pen and paper jobby, or just try and remember.
Joey. You got to give it the times, mate. Jason Schreier, note taking. It's the new journal. You don't need in-game journals anymore. Best way. No, there's nothing. But it makes sense in this, right? It's just a desktop. I guess they could put like a little in-game notes thing, but with that, you wouldn't want to be doing that, because that, writing one keyword takes a few seconds. Writing journal notes, I don't. To be honest, I don't know how you do it without taking notes. Any sort of resolution with it and understand it. So I'm surprised it doesn't sort of tell you, maybe. I mean,
little disclaimer: take notes, you dummy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. Because it has got little things on the desktop, but it's just like what you'd have on your desktop, like a little solitaire game you can play if you're bored. And
I like that. There's
one time
I played a game called Don't Feed the Monkeys, which was not the same at all. It was similar. Like you was watching. It's all game though. It wasn't real. It wasn't interactive like or full motion. It was all art and whatnot. And you're essentially watching scenarios play out from like a hidden camera inside someone's home and whatnot. And you're doing that from a computer. And you could interfere with like what's going on. You're not supposed to, but that's sort of part of the game. But on that, you log on to an old school computer and it's got like little games and stuff. And I like those little touches that just sort of bring the home PC to life. And the sad thing for you is that's as close as you're ever going to get to Master Race is through these games. So you kind of have to grab them with both hands when they're available. I don't think I've got much more. I mean, you've gone through the acting, which is good. We know the basic kind of loop of the game. We know it's a unique premise, like of interactive film, whatever you want to call it. I'm guessing there's no sound or music track really, other than like the diegetic music that's playing in like the casino or whatever. It's not like some hammering bloody soundtrack when the big revelation drops. But Any other business? Anything else you wanted to call out? Because this is a bit of a unique one anyway, so it doesn't really follow a standard sort of question log that I might
no,
choose.
not really. I mean, I guess I've got a question for you, really. That other game he made, is that the same thing? Do you know?
So, what, the War Games?
Yeah.
It is a interactive media. What is it? I don't even know if it's a game, actually. I don't know what this is, actually. This might take a... let's have a look on the website. It looks similar, to be honest. Yeah, I'd have to do more research on it, but I don't know what it is. It says War Games is an interactive media production based on the 1983 movie War Games. The series was produced by Echo with Sam Barlow as the creative lead. The production was released in 6 episodes starting on March the 14th, 2018 through Echo's website, mobile app, Nerdist.com, Steam and Voodoo. Narratively, the show follows a group of young people who are involved in hacker culture, attempting to use their skills to create societal change. Interactively, the viewer is presented with several video feeds representing what each of the characters are watching or doing, and can choose which one to focus on. This will affect how the game is presented to the viewer later on, though will otherwise not change the narrative. So, similar, we're using real world stuff, but sounds like a bit more of a wider reaching project. Like they're doing that from a website as well. It's not just a game that you can download and whatnot, but it might be worth investigating if it's easily available on a platform that you can get to. But
I'll just be curious what he's doing next.
So what he's doing next is a game called Immortality, which is another interactive film. So it's scheduled to be released this year. And there's not really much details on it, but it's going to be similar to Her Story and Telling Lies, apparently. So another one coming this year, if it doesn't get delayed.
And this little niche, and he ain't going to go too far, I guess.
No.
To be honest, I quite like it. This is now, because I've only just played it, I'd probably let it sit and get it on Game Pass again. But one of these every couple of years isn't bad. They're nice and quick to knock out.
Yeah, excellent. So, final thoughts and official grading. Still got out of 10 for 0.5 modifier.
I don't expect you to remember what I gave Her Story, but I'd say it's like a one level down from that. So I'm going to assume, I feel like Her Story is probably an 8. So I'm going to give this a 7. 7.
I may be able to find it because I keep a log of almost everything other than the important
really
stuff.
Fuck myself over here, and Her Story 5.
No, I've only got my one. Maybe I need.
What'd you give it?
8. Yeah.
There you go.
So sort of in line with that in a way. So 7 out of 10 for Telling Lies. One step down, that's concerning. That's sort of Sam's fuming at that. He's like, well, that's the biggest, most ambitious project we've done. It's gone down a step, so...
I just don't feel like it needs to be like that long, to be honest.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I get it. Yeah, you want these things to be
like
shortish.
1 or 2 nights. Just get it sort of. It's a game, essentially. As in, like, sorry, I know they're all games, but it's like I feel like it's like a board game or like something like akin to those, rather than an actual video game. So I feel like it doesn't need to be 8 hours long. Just maybe like 3 or 4 hours, one session, 1 or 2 sessions.
No,
keep it simple. Come on, Sam.
Excellent. I'm having second thoughts about the scoring again, just to let you know. So that might change again. A little nugget for people to latch on to in the coming months. See if I bother or not. Think of what else I can change it to. But no, good to hear about some Telling Lies. Thanks for speaking to us about that. Everyone that's made it to the end of the podcast, as usual, thanks for your time. If you want to support us, patreon.com/Dimp Digital is the way to go. Or you can go to twitch.tv/Dimp Digital and subscribe there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dimp Digital. Put the notifications on. Every week when we drop a new episode, you'll get notified. Or just subscribe to it in your favourite podcast app. But there's nothing more for us to say this time other than thanks for your time and ta-da.
This was a Dimp Digital production.